here in Waverly, Nebraska, just a couple miles northeast of Lincoln, and I got a Runza behind me. And so you know what that means, it's time for another Runza review. Now, today is a pretty hot day, so I think I'm gonna try one of their ice cream sandwiches. Again, Jake Blattner, please avert your eyes. I'm sorry, I know ice cream cookie might not be the best picture of perfect health, but it sounds really, really good right now. So I'm gonna head on in and pick that up, and we're gonna review that in the back of the car. So I've got my ice cream sandwich here. It's pretty small, but it's got two chocolate chip cookies with lots of chocolate chips here, and little vanilla and chocolate ice cream both. So that's kind of nice. You get both flavors, and then the chocolate chip cookies. So overall, you know, this is a pretty good ice cream sandwich, and coming in at $1.59, that's really not bad for getting 2 cookies and a little bit of ice cream. And you know, since it is so small, it's not gonna necessarily ruin the diet. Probably wouldn't want to eat too many of these, but overall not too bad. Now, one concern I do have here, and I gotta take off some points for this location, is they charged for the water. And they didn't just charge a little bit. In fact, I've had places charge 10 cents for the water. Most places throw it in for free. They called it $1.49. $1.49 for water. What's up with that, guys? Come on. Anyway, this ice cream is about to melt, so I better get into this before it gets to be too messy. Now, I think it's a little bit too late for me to say before it gets too messy, because this thing is dripping. Man, saying that ice cream sandwich was a mess would be an absolute understatement. It partly is my fault because I do have to get the ice cream sandwich and set everything up and start eating it, but I mean, that even took less than 2 minutes. And by the time I started eating, I mean, the ice cream was so soupy, I felt like I had to really keep biting. And also, it doesn't help there's like a 30-mile-an-hour wind, that everything right now that I eat is just, I mean, I was getting splatters everywhere. It just wasn't an enjoyable experience. And I think maybe if I'd have eaten it inside, it would have been more enjoyable. Maybe if I would have gone, you know, 2 minutes quicker and not had to set up a camera and all that and a microphone, it might have been better, but even that still feels like a bit of a stretch. Those cookies are really, really, really sweet. A lot of chocolate in there. And in a good chocolate chip cookie, to me, that's great. I love that. The problem is that when you have 2 really, really sweet, decadent chocolate chip cookies, they kind of overpower the ice cream, especially as that ice cream's starting to melt. It just felt like, you know, at this point I'd rather get a cup of ice cream and get my cookies, but then smashing them all together, I mean, it's a cool idea, and a $1.59, not horribly priced, but come on, Runza, I wanted something that I could enjoy as an ice cream sandwich, and instead I just felt like we're trying too hard to smash these desserts together and eat it all at once. And you know, it's really disappointing because ice cream sandwiches, I love getting them. I got them at the training table dining hall. Partly, I mean, they're like the only desserts they have there, but I love ice cream sandwiches, and so I think the concept of a super sweet cookie with the vanilla chocolate ice cream inside it just didn't do it for me. And I mean, my hands were a mess, my legs were a mess because the drips are like flying everywhere. It's, you know, and I know you could say, well, that's because you're a messy person. I get that, but really, I just wanted to see something easier to eat, something that wasn't so sweet, and something that I could enjoy. Because if I'm gonna get a dessert, I really want to enjoy it. Like, if they're vegetables, if it's something good for me, you know what, fine. I'm just gonna wolf it down. I don't really care. I'm getting the benefit. I'm no longer hungry. But if I'm getting a dessert, man, I want to enjoy every bite and not be stuffing it down the gullet. But unfortunately, that's what had to happen today. And so, you know, this Runza, I've got to give it a 3 out of 10. And I know that sounds really, really harsh. And again, for the Waverly Runza folks, you're fantastic. It's just when you're gonna overcharge on the water, which, I mean, again, that's their policy. I get that, but you know, I gotta knock off points for that. And then the ice cream sandwich is just too rich. You know, it's, again, nothing against you guys, Waverly. Nothing against the town at all. Just, you know, the ice cream sandwich could have been better. Anyway, still appreciate their service. Glad I got to check another one off the list, and I'll be back again later. Now, I may not have loved the ice cream sandwich at the Waverly Runza, but I did really love getting to talk to the Waverly mayor, Mike Werner. Now, it's a pretty long interview, but that's because we covered a lot of great topics, and he had a lot of great things to say. So here it is.
The best part of life in Waverly, Nebraska. Well, the wife and I, we raised our family here. We've been here for 40 years. And what I think the best part of life in Waverly is it has a small town feel, even though we're near a large metropolitan city such as Lincoln, but it is a very nice small town feel. The town has evolved over time to where it's a very young community. So it's nice seeing all the little kids around. We have an excellent school system out here. A lot of people move to Waverly because of our school system. But it's great seeing these little kids around at our parks, you know, playing out in our parks and doing all this. It makes you kind of feel young and youthful, and it's nice to see when they're out there doing organized sports. You see the granddads and the grandmas and the mom and dads out there watching the kids. And that's what I think the best part of life in Waverly is the family ethic type of thing. That it's a family-centric community, I believe. We try to live that way. We try to help one another a little bit out here. That's a good question. And Bill and I, the soon-to-be mayor-to-be this fall, probably agrees with me as well. We knew a year ago the internet that's available to our residents in Waverly is very much lacking. We don't have great download speeds, upload speeds. The advent of COVID-19, as more people do things more virtually and people are doing virtual meetings, virtual town halls, really showed that we need something done in this city to get better broadband available out here to our residents. The businesses have kind of addressed the problem. A lot of those have hired private contractors to pull fiber in so they can get to the outside world in a very acceptable speed or manner. But the residents suffer, and that's something I think I want to try to get done before my mayor term is up. And I know that Bill, our new incoming mayor, is very much on board as well. That we believe, both of us believe, that's something that's desperately needed for our people out here, is higher, just better internet quality, better speeds, you know. First of all, what's a little odd, Brian, is we got our sales tax receipts for the month of March and April, and we were pleasantly shocked. They were fairly typical, that we couldn't really tell much difference. I'm not saying we get May's receipts that it won't be down, but so far through April, things have looked pretty normal. Yes, the city's had some expenses. We've made sure that we isolated our workers. It's a big deal out here that our people that serve our freshwater systems and our sewer systems, those are used by a lot of people, 5,000 people probably nearly in this town. So those handful of employees that manage those systems, we've had to make sure we don't lose one of them. That we were definitely afraid if they all kind of worked together, if one got ill, they'd all have to quarantine. So we had to take steps to isolate them all. The employees, although probably aren't the funnest thing for them to do, they do see there is a value to that. So we've had some expense that way, not a huge amount of expense. As far as overall revenue though, so far we haven't felt anything. Now, the private businesses, they've suffered, I'm sure. I've been one of those. The wife and I, we went out, we bought things like gift cards at our local restaurants and encouraged others to do that. That's the way we can put money in those businesses' hands. That's happened. We've tried really pushing that. I think where we probably hurt more, it's sad to say, is the things for the children to do. That so many of we had to vote to not open the public pool this year. The sports stuff was really scaled back and just recently started due to COVID. And I feel for those kids. I think the kids need something to do where they feel productive, where they feel like there's a routine again, you know? And so to me, I think that's the biggest thing we're gonna feel as a community is it's gonna be our children might pay a little price for this, you know, that they didn't have them things available to Kids, I think, like a scheduled thing. I think they like structure. And right now, there's not a lot of structure. You're having to kind of change it every week or so, depending on what the guidelines dictate we do. But so far, financially, keep your fingers crossed. We've been fairly fortunate compared to many other cities. Very, very fortunate. Probably the biggest challenge we have, Brian, and I don't want to offend Hickman. They always like to kind of put us in our place, but I think Waverly's rated the 4th fastest growing city in the state. But you are right, Lancaster County, between Hickman and Waverly, you're looking at 2 of the 4 fastest growing cities in the state. So they're in our county. Excellent point by you. And it is challenging. It is very challenging. When we've done workforce housing studies, and we need more housing out here, Brian. We need more housing, particularly for those that work out at Waverly. I'm going to speculate our employers in Waverly probably employ around 12 to 1,300 employees. But I'd also venture to say that maybe only 200 or 300 of them live in Waverly. The bulk do not live in Waverly. We'd love to see the ability where it's an option for those people that work in our community. There'd be housing available for them. If a house comes up for sale in Waverly, you're lucky if it lasts 3 days in the market. So housing is a real problem out here. That truthfully is. We'd love to see more. We'd love to find a way to get some workforce housing set up by either using potentially some TIF. That's kind of a touchy subject, but I think we owe it to those employers. Can we find a way to, or at least those people would have an option to live out here? So that's one of our biggest challenges. Another big one is, Brian, is as you grow, it's been tough to, from a financial standpoint, I'm one, and our council's always been fairly conservative. They don't want to tax our people to death. None of us want to be taxed to death. But as you're a growing city, the needs become more real, that we got more streets to maintain now. We have more right-of-ways to maintain. We did vote, the people voted to build a new pool, Brian. That'll start next year. Our pool is we've been outside of our capacity for 3 years on our pool. It only has 200. We need a bigger pool. We just simply need a bigger pool. So those are some of the challenges from a financial standpoint. It's a hard thing to balance. We don't want to tax the people to death, yet we know we need to keep kind of up a little bit. We don't want to fall too far behind with like managing our road systems or watching our enterprise water sewer systems, that we pay attention to them, that those are in good financial positions, that there's money in those. If something happened on short notice, there'd be some money to do something. So that's probably the hardest thing, is balancing without having to tax the people to death, raising the levy, that type of stuff. So, but housing would, in my mind, be the number one problem out here, Brian. Number one problem, workforce housing. It's very painful to watch our news these days, the ongoing suffering, the ongoing violence. It just enough to make you almost want to cry. But as an individual, I think all that I can do is try my best to set an example. That I've been raised by my mom and dad. We tried raising our daughter where you need to respect all human beings. That that we're not religious people by nature, but I view this as a spiritual thing. That we're all brothers and sisters here, and I think we're here to help one another. And so all that I can really do is try my best to be the best I can to help, to be of help, and respect other people's opinions, respect their rights. I think it just comes from just setting an example. That right now maybe words aren't what we need. We just need people doing some basic human thing of that nature. Just let's be respectful of each other. That at our council meetings, we've had some heated debates, and we always remind people there's nothing wrong with having differing opinions. But what we have to do is we don't want to make things personal, and we need to be able to say, well, we're just going to have to agree that we just disagree on that item, and we move on, and so, but it's sad to see, Brian. It really is. It's really sad. It's very troubling, and I just hope it ends, and all this violence and that just isn't needed. I support the people protesting. That's their right to protest. And I think it's a good thing that they're doing it in a way. It's bringing some very sensitive topics that we need to talk about as citizens. We do. But I do think it's going to come from us individually behaving accordingly. In other words, whether Black Lives Matter, or if we just want to say all lives matter, then maybe we should act that way. We should all act that way. That lives matter. Human lives matter. we need to act accordingly. Runza,
Yes.
without question, Brian, it's the chili. That if the wife and I go to Runza, we always get the chili. We love their chili. So, probably the next favorite thing after that for my wife is she likes her onion rings, but it's the chili leads the way.
Well, thanks for making it through episode 20, and for episode 21, I'll be heading a little west of Waverly to the city of Seward, Nebraska, where I'll be trying out the Swiss mushroom burger at Runza. Thanks for watching this episode.